Well, greetings and salutations, test takers. This is the Series 7 Guru, aka Dean Tenney, coming to you from my studio here in fabulous Las Vegas. Let us know what series exam you're taking, where you're joining us from. We'll get a little housekeeping out of the way, and we'll help you with any content questions you have, and we'll take care of some admin. So if you do have a question, please tell me what exam you are taking, because the content overlaps and is tested at different depths depending on what the test is. So if you say SIE or S7 with a Q, I can pull out of the chat a little easier and distinguish it from people just chatting amongst each other. We're also here for fun and fellowship. So, that will help me not interrupt your flow and help us with a little bit of flow. The best free resource for your paid study materials supplement is my YouTube channel. And the best way to get the best use out of it is to find the playlist for your particular series. So if you're taking the SIE, there are 3 playlists. There's lectures, there's practice tests, there's a podcast series. The playlists are in suggested watch order. The videos are in suggested watch order. And that's if you're looking for it to binge. If you're looking for a particular topic, please use the channel search bar. Put in accrued interest or accretion or margin in the channel search bar, and all the content will come up. I get asked all the time to make videos on stuff they're already videos for. So that would be the way to find those videos. If you're looking for a paid supplement, Kaplan, I think, has the best QBank in the class on Series 7, for example. It's got close to 4,000 questions. It's got a performance tracker. If you're not already using Kaplan, I highly recommend that as a supplement. Any Kaplan product or service, you get 15% off with my Guru 15 discount code at checkout. Great paid supplement is Brian Lee's Test Geek, and we have a 20% discount for our viewers there, and that discount code is Guru20. We have communities. We have Reddit communities for each of the exams, subreddits, but recently people have said they like the Facebook format a little better. We have a new Facebook community called Baby Brokers doing hat tricks. Baby Brokers is a term of endearment for rookies in the securities industry. A hat trick is 3 successes in a limited time frame, hence Baby Brokers doing hat tricks. SIE 763, SIE 766, SIE Series 663, whatever the case may be. So feel free to join us over there on Facebook if you're interested in that. If you missed the live streams, they're available as a podcast on both the YouTube channel and Spotify. Tonight's drawing, I'm behind on some of the coaching calls. I owe some folks. We've been communicating. I'm going to get those on the schedule. But tonight's drawing is not for a coaching call. Tonight's drawing is for our basic option. I shouldn't say. Let me fix that. I don't know if I can fix that on the fly. I think I can. Stock plus options advanced. There we go. Hold on. Okay, there we go. I got it fixed. So tonight, the drawing is for a class. Either your choice, stock plus options, that's covered calls, protected puts, or advanced options, that's a $35 class. But if you win in the drawing, it's free, and I'll send you the link. Within an hour of winning, send me it. I'll send you a link, or you can choose advanced options, which is coming up Thursday. There's a link in the chat if you'd like to join us for advanced options on Thursday. So if you are taking a test that's pertinent to, you can give this to somebody else, the link that I'll send you. You can give it to somebody in office, do with it what you would like. All right, let's see what we got going on in chat. All right, Daniel. I knew you were going to pass, Daniel. You were working. I mean, this is a function of passing, is a function of dedication, discipline, and organization. And, Daniel, I could see his activity using the channel, asking questions. He was active, and you know what that means. We ring the bell for victorious test takers. I don't know why you'd want to not take my word for what's on the test, but if you don't, Daniel's in the house, victorious test taker. You can reach out to him. Every draw is a little different, so be careful about putting too much into what somebody's on their draw. But hey, he went in the cave. He slayed the Series 7 dragon. He's out of the cave, and now he's going in for his 66. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm sure, Daniel, I'll see you on the 66 playlist. I always look forward to our regular users on the channel, and Daniel's one of our regulars. Preparing for 7. Well, you're welcome, Yasha. Always very gratifying when I can help people make their mark. And so always nice. Sometimes, Yasha, kind words are always appreciated, but on tough days, they're even more appreciated, right? So thank you. There are some people who I need to remind them that it's free and it's a lot of stuff. So you're right on, right on. Take into next week. So any last minute tips, Daniel? If you can put them in the chat, that'd be great. I'm sure people would look forward to hearing from a victorious test taker. Another victorious test taker. All right. Carmen, I see you have 3 down and 1 to go. And I'm imagining, Carmen, that last leg of your testing journey, oh my, is a 65. And I would tell you, if I'm correct, Carmen, you did your SIE, you did your Series 6, you did your 63, and now you're going for a 65. I would just tell you that's a real challenge. So you got one more dragon to slay, and that's a big dragon. So a little bigger dragon than those previous 3. I passed the SIE 766 months ago. Been working in the field for 7 months, but now I'm getting to get my CRPC. Currently studying through Kaplan, but I'm finding that whole program, I'm missing something there. Fraud. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I should tell you that I am only a FINRA NASAA guru. I am clueless about any other content, whether it be CRPC or CFP or CFA or life and health. I'm clueless. Probably not the best guy to get some guidance from on those other exams. Last week of studying, Kellen, I love the picture there. That looks like some spirit-filled people there in your life. I broke it down my function, been taking 1 practice exam a day. That is the max, by the way. I get really aggravated when people say, oh, Dean, I did 4 exams today. I go, well, the 4th one it was a waste. We're trying to get marks. And so the point of taking a test is to get an intellectual inventory, get a mark, and to find where you need to remediate, what remediation is necessary. So that is best practice, Kellen, to take 1 practice test a day and then remediate. So I like that. That's best practice. Reviewing Brian's supplements. Brian's supplements are spot on for the NASA. I mean, if anybody has done a good job of a distillation of that content, it is my friend Brian. So I'm glad to see you got Brian's supplement. I know not everybody can afford to, invest in additional resources, but if you can, Brian is a worthy investment. You got a Kaplan Q Bank. Woohoo! You're rewatching the live class. I don't know what your testing date is. I don't know who your instructor is. I'm teaching a Kaplan Series 6 May. I probably should have put that in the banner. If you want to join me for Kaplan Series 6 class, 66 class, I'm doing that on May 20th. I'll be teaching a 3-day Kaplan Series 7 Guru. Ratio spreads are not testable these days, Dan, depending on what exam you're taking. On the 7, absolutely not, except recognizing that if I have 200 shares and I write 3 calls, not that that's a ratio, right? But I have 1 call that's naked, and there's no such thing as being partially naked. So if you do see a ratio right, it wouldn't be identification that it's a ratio right. It would be identification that it exposes somebody unlimited risk, because if you got X number of shares and more contracts than shares, you're in trouble. And thank you so much for joining us from LinkedIn. We broadcast to LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, I guess X now. I got to have a call on X. And our preferred platform, which is YouTube. So I'm always glad when I see somebody from one of those other platforms joining us. Question is, what's your advice? Well, I think I already answered. I have no advice. I know nothing about the CRPC. So my advice would be, uninformed. So uninformed. Very testable, Kellen. On all the exams, you need to be able to distinguish between joint tenants with rights or survivorship, which are undivided, meaning both parties own 100% of the account. Don't confuse that with community property. That's a different thing, right? It's not 50-50 or 80-20. It's a Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Doesn't have to be spouses. Joint tenants with rights or survivorship. And then remember, the cedent share belongs to the surviving party. Either party can act. Divided would be tenants in common. So joint tenants with rights or survivorship are undivided, not divided. What divided means is this idea of fractional interest. So, you do need to be able to distinguish between joint tenants with rights or survivorship with tenants in common. Joint ends with rights or survivorship. Both parties own 100% of the account. Decedent share goes to the surviving party. Either party can act. Divided means tenant in common. Yeah, well, then you need to send me the page number. Well, yeah, I just told you joint tenants is undivided. That's what I just said. Undivided interest. Tenants in common, divided interest. 80-20, 50-50. Decedent share goes to their estate or beneficiary, and the account is frozen when one party dies. So I joke, but it's not a joke. There's a lot of questions on all these exams about dead people and what happens. On Dean's Day before the 7 video, I knew 100% what he said. Also aced his option question. Well, there you go, Daniel. I don't think I do those day before. I call them your series and 60-minute videos. They're not designed to teach it. I mean, if you don't know it the night before, you don't know it. But what I hope, Daniel, is maybe puts people in a good flow state or gives them some confidence. Like in your case, you go through that the day before, and then you say, oh, I know all this stuff, and you feel good going in there and, making your mark. All right. Kudos. General Securities Principal. Wow, that is impressive. That's a tough one, too. So the 65 is tough, and the 10 is tough, and the 24 is tough. So kudos, General Securities Principal. I don't know if we have any other General Securities Principal in the house, but if so, reach out to AXA. Freshly minted. I always joke, AXA, I call the 24 babysitting sevens. So 63, now SIE. 63 and 24. That's fantastic, Steve. Look at all those victories. Next up, Series 4. Be careful. Just a heads up on the Series 4, Steve. I do have a playlist for the Series 4. I do cover ratio rights in there. I do cover advanced option strategies in there. But don't forget it's sales supervision. So I think a lot of people power up on their Series 4. For those of you who don't know what a Series 4 is, a Series 4 is a registered option principal. If you're taking a Series 7, you should definitely know, not so much it's a Series 4, but what a registered option principal, why that's important to you as a 7 test taker. Because remember, you are supposed to get your account approved by somebody like Steve once he passes his 4. And then you tell the customer, my registered option principal approved your account. You have 15 days to get back the option agreement that you read and understood the disclosure document. So anyways, that's what the 4 is. What's a good game plan to combine my study plan for the 66 with Kaplan or beauties? Well, Daniel, I do the same thing you did. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So I think as my videos as a supplement, I would either use those to put a dent into the reading or a dent into your practice questions. In other words, either choose to use them in the advance or to use them afterwards, right? So that's how I would probably think of the videos. So whatever you did on the 7, I would do the same. 66, I have 3 playlists for you, Daniel. Most of the series playlists have more than one. I have lectures, I have practice tests and practice questions, and I have a podcast series on the 66, which I did in collaboration with Brian, the test geek. So we got lots of for you. Same thing. Playlists are in suggested watch order. The videos in those playlists are in suggested watch order as well. Oh, that hurts, Chad. Man, that hurts. Well, I like it. I like the retrograde movement. You got a 6, get to 63, and at least, Chad, now you're in production. I don't know if you're going into production or if you're in the support unit or the business unit, but let's assume you're in the business unit. At least you can transact some business while you wait. I find, Chad, that normally when people have those high kind of a score and don't pass, it's not knowledge deficit. It's some other thing. I don't know. Face of death draw, changing answers. It's unfortunately not that you didn't know, but I like your new plan. I would put the 7 away. Even when you pass the 7, Chad, even when you pass the 7, you went back to your manager with a 7, said, I know I have a 7, but is it okay if I just still sell mutual funds? They're going to say that would be wonderful. So I like it. You got your 6 done. Let's get that last testing victory there. And at least you're off the sidelines and in the game, so to speak. There you go. There you go. I don't know if it's a typo, but you could certainly send it to me. I'm not a Kaplan employee, but I do know lots of Kaplan people. I'm a senior instructor emeritus, which means, I used to be an instructor, but Kaplan does contract with me. Well, I should say my LLC, which is me, to teach classes for them. But I do know the people that are in charge of that. So cut and paste. I don't like a ghost question. So Johnny or Kellen, just tell me what page number or where you saw it. And I'm more than happy to turn it over to the powers that be at Kaplan and say, what the heck? What's going on here? Marcel, how are you, my friend? Always great to see you. Mom, I can't say hi to Mom because she's presently in Europe right now. I sent her off to Europe. She's gone for a couple of weeks. So, woohoo! I have a little mom break. So she's doing, I'm sending her, I sent her to the UK and then United Kingdom. She's doing London, which I've taken her to before. She's doing Scotland. She's doing Ireland. She hasn't been to Ireland before. And she's doing France. And she's been to France before, but her friends were talking about chatting up this trip. And I said, Mom, you want to consider that. And I'll take care of it if you want to go. So when she gets back, you're going to be in Vegas August 13th. All right. I'm going to put that on the calendar, Marcel. This time, dinner's on myself. And I think Brian wants to join us, if that's okay. And Mom, and we're going to see the do-over. The plan is to do over where you took us and see if we think it compares. Brian says it's better, but we'll see. We'll see. Oh, that's great to know. Woohoo. You had my favorite instructor. I did typically, so you guys know, what I do with Kaplan is I do a series SIE the first month of each quarter. I do a series 7 the second month of each quarter. I do a 66 the third month of each quarter. And then sometimes I substitute. But if you join me for those 3, so Kellen, I don't know where you're at in terms of, I don't know if you join me for the SIE. But if you join me for the SIE, the 7, and the 66, and you pass all 3 exams, I give you as a memento a tombstone with the dates of your Kaplan class and the dates of your pass. So you can have a little tombstone put on your desk or wherever. All right, Angelina, 5th attempt. All right, I love that. I love that, Angelina. You passed even a more important test called resiliency. We just had somebody, Angelina, who we were feeling bad for because he failed at 3 and now he's got a 6-month wait and, plug the gap, so to speak. He took a 6. I just love stories like that. Angelina, people invest with you because they like you and they trust you, not because you scored, had difficulty or passed an exam. I don't know if you're in the support unit or business unit, but if you're in the business unit, you're actor, in production. I had a broker, Angelina, one of my best brokers ever. He took the test 5 times. I knew he was going to be great because, again, of resiliency and handling rejection. But he used to literally go out to people, and part of his presentation was, hey, if anybody knows this stuff, it's me. I had to take this damn test 5 times. So. Oh, you joined me for my live class. Thank you so much. All your tube, there you go. So thank you so much for being a viewer and getting it done. I always like stories like that, man. I also joke, I had somebody, Angelina, who was a top producer on the insurance side and was really struggling with the securities exams. And they're not going to, she's not going anywhere because she brings in way too much money on the insurance side. But when she finally got done, I thought it was great because nobody on her team can tell her about testing challenges, right? Because nobody, Angelina, is going to be able to tell you how difficult it is when you've had that was based on your journey. Let me know, Angelina. You can email me at series 7 guru at guruexamprep.com. And I've been thinking maybe we could add to the live streams, maybe like if you're up to it, interview or testimonial or whatever, where you want to tell people what you did, what worked, what didn't work. That goes for every victorious test taker. Daniel, yourself, let me know. Austin took a 66 this Friday, scored an 85. So you're not at risk. You're ready to go. Absolutely, Austin. So that means you're not at risk. Just do what you're doing. As I joke, you just got to stick the landing, right? Just stick the landing. Hope you had a great trip. 6-6 is Friday. Last practice test yesterday, 78. Good. I know we didn't have time, Isaac, to do a 6 together, a practice test. I so want to do it. I've just been so busy. And I apologize. If I owe you an email or something, feel free to send it again. I mean, I've accidentally put myself at a crossroads where I got to decide. Brian makes fun of me. I consider myself to be a semi-retired stockbroker. And I started this channel like we're going into our 4th year, and it's taken on, a much bigger proportion of my life than I intended. So I either have to decide whether I'm going to actually hire somebody to help me, not with the content, but just emails and dates and times and keeping track of stuff, or if I'm going to dial it back down a notch I'm not very good at that medium, switch. Right. So if I do owe somebody an email or whatever, just let me know. Just stay on me. Currently an intern at the firm on the New York Stock Exchange. Failed the SIE twice. And I have used the first time I used an SIE book, got 61. Next time I used Kaplan, I got 65. Niche, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I hope I am. But have you used any of my content? I have all kinds of fantastic SIE content. Some people use my SIE content as their primary study tool. Once again, I have 3 entire playlists for the SIE. I have an entire playlist of video lectures. I have a second playlist, an entire playlist of practice tests and practice questions from many different vendors. And then I have a SIE podcast episode. So check it out if you haven't already checked it out. I think we could easily find you the points you're missing. I would also point out, Niche, I don't know if you've done it already. FINRA has a practice test on the website that's pretty good. If you haven't done that, I'd check that out, maybe 2-3 days out, because it's pretty good. I, Niche, have my own version. I wrote a doppelganger version where you can watch me do the FINRA one, but there's another video where I've taken their answer sets, kept the answer set, changed the questions. So their answer sets are pretty good because their wrong answers are right answers to different questions. And that's pretty spot on as compared to the exam. So 2, I think, pretty spot on practice tests for the SIE. The FINRA one, which you can watch me do, and I explicate it, I talk about it, talk about what's adjacent in terms of testable content, and then the one I wrote. I highly recommend those. I think those alone could find you points. Niche, I also have an SIE in 60 minutes video, has 150,000 views, and people said it found them a lot of points. So I don't know how much of my content you've been using, but no surprise, I recommend you use more of it. Last question for you. The day before the test, would you recommend an aside from a 66 and the 60? Well, it depends on your confidence, Kellen. I don't want you to lose your testing rhythm, right? So testing rhythm, what do I mean by that? I don't want you to take the complete day off. Maybe you don't want to do an entire practice test because that could have some downside if you're not confident. But at least do 30, 40 questions just to kind of, not to learn, just to keep your rhythm. So that's what I would suggest the day before. I also have a day before video. Besides the Series 66 in 60 minutes, I have a separate video that's germane to all exams called the day before your test. Maybe check that out. It has recommendations about, just stupid stuff like geography and, what you should do and what you should expect. I would imagine on your 66, it's not your first rodeo. So I can't imagine that you're struggling with, the site and how that's going to work. But check out, do enough questions to keep a rhythm, whether it's 30 or 40, whatever you want to do. Maybe you want to, if you can do a customized quiz, I would do unethical business practices and disclosures, because that's about 25 questions on the 66. So maybe do a few of those and do the SIE in 66 and 60 minutes, and day before you test video might be good. Second attempt, any tips? Very nervous. Well, Maxine, I don't know what your first score was, so that would be meaningful. I mean, were you close the first time, or were you completely, not close? So if you have a week, I'd also be interested, Maxine, in what your practice test scores are. So if you have 1 week before your Series 7 and I were your, accountability partner, I'd say, okay, well, how many practice tests am I going to see between now and test date? Yeah, and I would want to see anywhere from 3 to 4 practice test scores. Again, doing that intellectual inventory, getting that mark. And we would hopefully on that day before, maybe you do your last Series 7 and get a mark, and we're looking for mid-70s. I would want you to be in the mid-70s on a practice test to where I wouldn't think you'd be at risk. So I don't know where you're at on those practice test scores. Remember, in chat, your private business is public, so I'm not sure you want to put it in the chat, but if you want to put it in the chat, tell me what your practice test scores. Maybe I can be a little more helpful about whether you need to lay more base or if you're ready to start, transitioning into practice tests. I suggest doing both, continue to lay base knowledge and do those practice tests. No more than 1 a day. Pass the 6 on Saturday. Woo! Oh, you purchased Brian's bundle. All right. Yeah, Brian, Brian doesn't put anything in his content that isn't testable. So I get a little aggravated sometimes with people saying, well, nobody really knows what's on these tests, which is kind of BS because we do. I mean, particularly if you have volume, and I do a lot of volume. So I'm talking to test takers every day, people who've made their mark, people who've missed their mark about what they encounter. Now, remember, I'm not allowed to ask you what was question 35, but I can say, what do you think we should have done a better job preparing you for? That kind of thing. And so I'm not even as disciplined as Brian. I'll answer questions even if they're not on the test and say, well, it's not testable, but here's the answer. Brian doesn't engage in any of that his content. And when he's usually here as my wingman, he gets aggravated with me when I start going down some path that doesn't lead to its test question, right? So if you don't have Brian's content, I think he's pretty spot on what you can expect. Streamlined. He'll like that. He likes to, him and I use the word distillation, Benita, but I like that, streamline. I'm doing podcasts right now. There you go. Do you think I could do the SIE? Yeah, absolutely. Don't give up. Look, we just had somebody 5 times. If she's going to take the 7 5 times and pass, then you certainly can take the SIE 3 times, right? So make sure you get it done. The third time can be, challenging because the third time, remember, if you miss that mark, then it's that 6-month wait that we were discussing earlier. But yeah, I'm a big fan of, keep going down there. By the way, I have a video I'll post it. I don't know if Nasha you've watched it, but it's you failed. Is it over? Spoiler alert, it's not. But it's how you respond to that your employing firm wants to know. How do you respond to negative feedback, like missing the mark? And, they don't want to hear you go down there and, whine about your test prep vendor or, you got to face a death draw. What your firm wants to hear is that, yeah, I'm going to go kick its butt next time. I'm going back in the cave. I'm going to slay the dragon. And so that's what they want to hear. I just had a guy his job was at risk. And boy, talk about being a great salesman. He told me what his conversation with them was. Man, no way they're not sending you back down there with the way he responded and presented himself. So just keep that in mind. Vent to your friends or something when you're down. I think one of the things I think makes it so hard nowadays is, past COVID, we're not, a lot of us doing it as a cohort. We're not all in the same place where you have a support network to buck you up on a bad day, take you to lunch or buy you an adult beverage. It's a little more lonelier out there taking these tests. That's one of the reasons I think Tuesdays like this are very important. Just so you know, there are other people in similar situations. But in this case, right, when you have negative feedback like that and you're not ready to respond, do that with your friends or your support network before you actually, go into your firm. You want to talk to them rather quickly after you miss the mark, because if I know you're testing and I don't hear from you, most of us think that's bad. And so the longer we don't hear from you, the worse it gets. So, you want to do that, but do it in a positive way. Say, okay, I want to sound upbeat. I want to sound like, hey, I'm an NBA fan and, it's hard to be upbeat. Joel Embiid was had a talent over head. I get it. But I was thinking as a leader, he probably should be a little more positive about what happened. Like we're going to get him next time. Can you help with the reasoning why you would buy, sell, stop limits? Yes, I can. So let's start with the accept format question. Can you help with the reasoning why you would buy, sell, stops, and limits? Okay. So there are 3 uses of stop orders. One use of a stop order is to stop a loss. So test question, all the following uses of stop losses except. Number 2, to protect a profit. Number 3, to establish a stock position. Those are the 3 uses of a stop order. Stop losses, protect profits, establish stock positions. Now we have sell stops and we have buy stops. So sell stops can be used to stop a loss in a long position, to protect a profit in a long position, or to establish a short position if a stock trades through the support line. The 3 uses of a buy stop: stop a loss in a short stock position, protect a profit in a short stock position, or go long if the stock breaks through its resistance line. So we have buy stops and sell stops. So those are the reasoning why you would do that. For example, Decades ago, when I was a baby broker, I was cold calling this guy, called him about 5 times. And I said, hey, I'd like you to open a new account with me, buy 1,000 shares at 40. And if I'm right, over the next 12 to 18 months, this could be an $80 stock. And if so, we'll make you $40,000 and double your money. I said, we could just as easily be wrong. And so with your permission, what I'd like to do is place a sell stop at 37. Not because if I'm wrong, it could go to 20, you could lose $20,000. I don't want you to do that. And, so if I'm wrong, we lose approximately $3,000. And he started cracking up. He said, honey, there's a broker on the phone. Says it's going to cost $3,000 to get to know him. What do you think? So, I don't know, He said, Dean, part of successful investing is letting your flowers bloom, but more important, pulling your weeds. And a stop order is an automatic weed puller. So, he says, go ahead and do that. But if that gets, triggered and becomes a live order, close the account, send me a check, the relationship's over. We got lucky. The stock went to 80. We moved up the sell stop to protect the profit. So there's the use of the sell stop. Here's an example of a buy stop. My cousin called me and she said, Dean, my husband's making me nervous. He's recently put our retirement plan online and he's playing video arcade games with our money. Could you give him a call? I say, hey, John, you're making your wife nervous. What are you up to? He said, well, Dean, there's a stock that was a $40 stock and now it's a $10 stock. I said, well, John, there's probably a reason for that. And he says, I'm thinking about buying 1,000 shares at 10 of my retirement plan, goes back to 40, I make $30,000. I go, that's a big if. I said, John, I would consider putting that in your retirement plan, or your personal account, not your retirement plan. John, the two major impediments to investment success are taxation and inflation. In your retirement plan, you've already beat taxation. If you put that speculative investment into your personal account, you're wrong. At least you can deduct up to $3,000. He said, well, Dean, I don't think it's any of your damn business, but I don't have the money in my personal account. I said, well, probably not a reason to be day trading your retirement account. I said, John, while we've been talking, I've been looking at a chart on the stock, and it looks like it's kind of stuck at 10. I mean, why would you want to tie up 10 grand in a stock that ain't moving? What I would suggest, John, is putting a buy stop at 12. Tell your broker at Schwab that if it trades at or through 12, then you want to buy 1,000 shares. In the meantime, you still have your $10,000 earning you interest, and you don't get on board the train until it leaves the station going your way. You maybe get a bad trigger and a bad execution afterwards, two separate events, and maybe it's 13, goes to 40, you make 27 grand instead of 30, but you still got your 10 grand. He goes, can I do that? I go, absolutely. Get out your mouse and put a buy stop at 12. Anyways, after he put in the buy stop at 12, the following trades occurred: 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, bankrupt. He never bought the stock. The train left the station going the wrong way. You don't want to do that. You don't want to get on board that train. Since it never got triggered, he never bought the stock. And he said, man, Dean, that's so cool. You ever think about being a broker? I go, well, John, I don't know what you think I did with 20 years of my life. But so there's an example where we're using the stop order to establish a long position only if it breaks through the resistance line. So there's a couple examples of stops. I'll Morgan in the video description link to my lecture on types of orders. You definitely get tested on where to place those orders in relationship. Please note, I place the sell stop below the current market price and the buy stop above the current market price. Not a coincidence. Limit orders are a separate thing. A limit order is when you want to buy the stock at your price or better. And again, Morgan, sometimes price is more important than execution, in which case you're going to use a limit order, right? I was with my contractors. I've been building a, off-grid kind of compound. And for a long time, I was just using market orders, Morgan, just, hey, needed execution. I need this thing operational. So whatever we need to do, I'm just going to write the check and we're going to do it. Now that we're operational, I said, now listen, guys, I'm not doing it unless it's my price or better. If we can't do this for $8,000 or less, then I ain't doing it. So same thing with limit order on a stock, right? If Apple's at 168 and I say, I don't want to pay 168, I want to pay 166, right? By the way, an alternative to a buy limit order would be selling a put, right? You could sell an Apple 170 put for 4. And if you get exercise, you could say, thank you very much. So there's a couple examples for you. And like I say, I'll link to an entire lecture for you. The memory aid device that's worth a lot of points is Slobs over Bliss. On to the 66 and 24. Woohoo! I forget, Angelina, I don't know if you're with this particular firm, but I forget that some journeys are the entire thing, SIE 76624, because a lot of people that are in that situation, I know it's true of you, have been hired to be compliance officials, and you can't take a 24 without the 7. So, well. All right, victorious test takers. Woo! James, thanks for joining us from LinkedIn. We always like seeing our LinkedIn folks. 18. Well, there you go. And had a question. If I pass the SCI in 6, will I be the youngest man on earth? I don't think so. My brother came to work when he was 18, and he took and passed his exam. So I'm sorry, my friend. I don't think so. I had a young lady whose father is a broker, and she was taking it right on her 18th birthday. So I think it's rare. It's rare, but it's not. I don't think you're the first. Taking the 65 next Thursday, averaging 75 on Kaplan exam, 6 of them. That's great. Right where you need to be, do. I would rinse and repeat. Whatever you're doing is working. I would do no more than 1 exam a day. We should be able to push that a little higher, but 75 is where you need to be. So continue to do practice exams and remediation. Continue to lay base, and I think you're in pretty good shape. On the assumed interest rates for variable annuities, I keep missing the payment going up or down. So this is testable. On 7, on 6. So Isaac tells me, I say, Isaac, you put this money in the variable annuity. And one of the neat things you can do, Isaac, is you can annuitize. You can turn this into an income stream. And he said, well, let's do that, Dean. I said, well, Isaac, the annuitization choice that will give you the largest payment, test question is life only. And he says, well, let's do that. I said, okay, so Isaac, I want you to give me a call when you get your first check. And he says, why? I said, well, when you get your first monthly check, give me a call. I say, Isaac, what was your first check? He said, my first check, Dean, is $2,000. I say, okay, so Isaac, next month's check is either going to be more than $2,000, less than $2,000, or the same. Now, it's not going to go from like $2,000 to $4,000 or $2,000 to $500. We're going to bump you 1 annuity unit at the time. So, Isaac, until you annuitize, what you had were accumulation units. Intellectually, those are shares in a mutual fund, right? Every time I encounter the word variable annuity, I'm just going to translate mutual fund with insurance wrapper. So that's what you had, Isaac, was a mutual fund with an insurance wrapper. Now you've annuitized, you got your first check. You said, well, Dean, why is the check going up or down? I said, well, we have an assumed interest rate. We won't be an insurance company long if we assume interest rates or returns that we can't get. And if we can get more than the assumed interest rate, your check goes up. If we get less than the assumed interest rate, your check goes down. If we get the assumed interest rate, the check remains the same. He says, Dean, what is the assumed interest rate? I said, Isaac, I don't want to tell you because it would just cloud your mind. It doesn't matter. So, well, damn it, Dean, I want to know. Okay, I'm going to regret this. The assumed interest rate, Isaac, is 4%. I just made that up. I said, okay, so give me a call when you get your next check. You say, hey, Dean, I got 2020. I said, okay, so you tell me, Isaac, what does that mean? That means the performance was better than the assumed interest rate. He said, how much more? I said, doesn't matter. I don't want to tell you. It doesn't matter if it's 20% or 4.1. Does not matter. This is the law of large numbers or averages. So it does matter that it's above 4. He goes, well, I want to know. I go, 5. It wouldn't matter if I told him 5 or 4.1 or 30. Doesn't matter. I said, call me when you get your third check. He goes, how long are we going to have this conversation? I said, Isaac, I want to talk to you until the check goes down, because it's been my experience, people don't get it until the check goes down. So you got your first check at 2000, you got your second check at 2020. Isaac calls me. He's got his third check and it's 2020. So he got the same as the previous month. So he says, Dean, I got the same amount. I said, Isaac, that means we got the assumed interest rate. We get the assumed interest rate of 4, we get 4, check remains the same. We only move you 1 unit at a time. We're not, you're in retirement, so we're not bouncing you all over the place. He says, oh, you want me to call you on the 4th check? I go, absolutely. He says, Dean, the check went back down to 2000. I said, well, that means we got less than the year. He said, how much less? I say, it doesn't matter. Don't fall for those Jedi mind tricks where they try and cloud your mind. It does not matter. It could be 3.9. That's the trick, Isaac. 3.9 is still positive performance, but it's less than 4. Check goes down. So it doesn't matter how far above or below. It's simply comparing the performance to the air. Next month check will reflect either a higher or lower number or same, depending on what that air was. Hope you found that helpful. Isaac, I will link to a lecture on variable annuities. Let me write down what I've said I'm going to link to. I'm going to link to types of orders in the replay. I'm going to link to you failed. And I'm going to link to variable annuities. I also have, again, on the search bar, I also have tutoring replays where I've gone through, variable annuities with folks. Any good tips for giving the third time? Yeah, pass the exam. I'm joking, Jay. That was rude, wasn't it? Any good tips? I do. I have test taking tips, tricks, and memory aids for the SIE. It's an entire video, and I will link to that. I just had somebody in the shade today tell me that video saved their butt, so I will link to that. Tips, tricks, and memory aids for SIE. I'm one of the few people, well, I shouldn't say, I do believe, let me say this, learning the information is always the better way to proceed. Always the better way to proceed. But when you don't know the answer, that's when we use test-taking tricks. We don't use test-taking tricks unless we don't know it. But, I have several test-taking tricks, and this is a guy who's developed content, and I fall prey to tricks too. There's another human being who wrote the question. But one that people set this guy on a rant is my test-taking trick about too long to be wrong. That if you're shopping an answer set and you have a long answer, the person who wrote that question likes that answer. It's either a hell of a distractor, that's the technical name for the wrong answer, or it could be the right answer. And even people at Kaplan and my friend Brian fall prey to this, and they get so mad because they don't like my test-taking tricks. So I go, well, listen, Brian, look at that one. It's too long to be wrong. And the reason is you wrote your answer, and then you wrote your question, and then you wrote the distractors, the wrong answer. So, but again, I'm not saying use tricks to pass. I'm saying when all else fails. That you can take the 65, 66. You can take any NASA exam, and you can take the SIE. Preparing for the 6. I would definitely, Lady Brill, make sure you got mutual funds, variable annuities, retail communications, and customer accounts. Variable annuities, mutual fund, retail communications, customer accounts. I don't know how you did on your SIE, but there's a lot of overlap. I think if you did really well on your SIE, there's no reason to really overlearn the SIE, because whatever your second leg of your testing journey, it will pay dividends. I think if you pass the SIE strongly, I think you can pass out of a Series 6. What is the preferred email for the joint tens with rights? Send that to Series 7 Guru at Guru Exam Prep. Let's see. I think I have a banner for it. Let me see if I have a banner. Or you can use this one too. This is what we use, Livestream at guruexamprep.com. Either that one or Series 7 Guru. I'm trying to get the emails to create buckets for me so I can keep better track of things. Where are we at? There we are. Yeah, all right. Woohoo. You're in a support role. Well, there you go. Good job. Don't give up hope. There's no reason to give up hope. Do not give up hope. Look at those New York Knicks last night. They were down 5 points with 6 seconds. I forget what it was. And no reason to abandon ship this soon. Play it out. Play it out, my friend. The SIE is not changing. I don't know who you told that. I mean, I wish people would, not cause people stress. The SIE is not changing. I don't know who told you that. That is not true. In a Kaplan crash course, who's your, Mark Esposito is fantastic. He's one of my favorites. Absolutely. Tell him now for my Series 7 next Thursday, tell Mark Dean said hi. Mark does tutoring as well. He's a great tutor as well. And his classes are excellent. So tell Mark that Dean said hi. I'm trying to get him, Brittany, to come on our Tuesday live stream. Why don't you mention it to him if you can? Say, hey, Dean told me he's trying to get you to come on and do an interview on the live stream on Tuesday. I got Doug Vinson, who was a Kaplan vice president, to come on. I'm trying to get some of my Kaplan colleagues to come on Saturday. Any last minute tips? Yes, on 24, always answer in the context of the question in terms of protecting the customer first and foremost. There's a lot of judgment questions. And so on the judgment questions, when you have to do judgment questions, say, okay, what best protects this customer? Not my rep, not my firm, the customer. So that's kind of the mindset you want when taking the 24. There you go. That SIE playlist, I think, is pretty strong. I started, Brittany, with just Series 7 content. And one of the things that's been very gratifying is we now have people just today who've used the channel to pass the SIE, matriculate to their 7, their 66, their 24. Just a wonderful thing. I also, Brittany, had somebody who complained and said, Dean, I've had to watch all these commercials on your channel. Could you please make them go away? And I said, well, no, but you can make them go away. I don't like watching commercials either. So I pay YouTube $20 a month to watch commercial free. So assuming you're doing an SIE, a 7, a 66, 24, maybe that's 6 months, $20 a month, costs you $120, and you don't have to watch commercials anymore. And then he said, Brittany, I thought this was something. He said, well, I guess I'll just suffer. I said, well, listen, young man, if suffering in your world is that you have to watch commercials on YouTube, you're pretty blessed, because there's a lot of people in the world that would not be suffering. So which course? Of course, Kaplan, the 15% discount. Kaplan is the way to go, particularly in NASA exams. Well, there you go. I don't teach the 63, but I do teach, unless they need me to substitute or something. I mean, I'm capable of teaching all the exams, but I don't teach them unless, Kaplan, something happens to Mark or something happens to somebody. Mark is a full-time instructor. I am not. So, by design, I'm not a full-time person. Needs to register with the state. Yeah. So let's start with the IA. That's easy. Federally covered IAs never register with the state. Period. Full stop. If you're a federally covered advisor, that means you're managing over $110 million or $100 million or more. You can choose. I don't know who would not choose to be a federally covered investment advisor. I can't imagine you wouldn't. In fact, I know people have been hired to get somebody from state to federal. So end of that story. I have a video I'll link to, Austin, called Who's Your Daddy? So an IA is only registering with either the SEC or the state, never both. Never both. Period. Full stop. I will link to that. Now let's talk about the investment advisor rep. The investment advisor rep, there's no de minimis for an investment advisor rep of a federally covered investment advisor. If you are an investment advisor rep of a federally covered advisor, you only have to register, Austin, in states in which you have a place of business. Period. Full stop. That's it. If I have a place of business in Nevada, I have no place of business in California, I could have 1,000 residents of California as investment advisory clients. I don't need to register. So as an investment advisor, a federally covered advisor, I only register in states in which I have a place of business. So that's why it's so important in those questions to determine first, RTFQ, read the full question, to determine whether you're being asked about a federally covered investment advisor or state, because then what follows to the investment advisor rep is going to be different, right? If you're not an investment advisor rep of a federally covered firm, then all that de minimis and all that other stuff kicks in. 76 on benchmark, 87. That's great. Yeah, you should be good. You should be good. Do me a favor. If those are all IRS trader, if those are all training consultants, at least do one on my channel just to get a confirmation score. So just to see where you're at, make sure it's in that same area, but you should be fine. Should be fine. I'm preparing for the SIE, studying with Kaplan, supplementing with your SIE series. Thank you so much. Well, Mac, thank you for watching. Can you believe this? We are at 3.7 million views. And I always wonder if that's like one person watching 3.7 million times, but I never in my wildest dream, when I started the channel 4 years ago, we're going our 4th year, that with 3.7 million views, it's crazy. We have videos now with 150,000 views. We're past 31,000 subscribers. I joke, Mac, I come into your life for a reason and a season. The reason is to pass your exams, and the season is how long that takes. So you might be with me a while, SIE, maybe you're 6 or 7, 63, 66. And then, every once in a while, Mac, somebody will tell me they're unsubscribing from the channel because the reason of the season is over. And I get it. And then every once in a while, people will say, hey, Dean, I'm still going to stay subscribed. I go, oh, okay, cool. TCEV, or EV, I guess would be that way to pronounce it. I hope I'm not messing that up. Is training consultants. So training consultant is a vendor like STC, like Kaplan, like Past Perfect, like Notman. I think they're a little thin, and that's why I asked him to get a confirmation score. So, Past Perfect's a little fat, and training consultants a little thin. Not teaming consultants, IRS trader, it's training consultants. There you go. I mean, they're good. They're a good vendor, so nothing to be scared about. 60 on first attempt. There you go. So that means you're in the ballpark. Okay, great. Kaplan Past Perfect. Past Perfect is really tough, so you can add some points there. First attempt high score was 68. So let's see, Maxine, if we can get you in those mid 70s. That would be great. If we can get you in the mid 70s. Third attempt, I use Kaplan, Past Perfect, Mometrics, and now your podcast. Well, there you go. There you go. The podcast you find most helpful. Everybody's different, got different learning styles. So, the podcast is kind of fun because if you're in the gym or you're in the car or you want, you just want to listen. I have now, I think I'm almost complete. I don't have podcasts for everything, but I got a podcast playlist for the SIE, a podcast playlist for the 7, a podcast playlist for 65 and 66. I got to show my 6s some more love. I don't have as much content for 6s as I have for other stuff. I do. Well, there's only, Kyle, there shouldn't be a whole lot missing. And what's missing in the explication of the test specifications, the outline, are where you can find full video lectures for. So I have it pinned to my wall here, the ones I still haven't done. But, every time I think about doing it, I didn't think, oh, well, I got a video that does the same thing. Missed by a point? Ugh. A lot of formula questions. Well, formulas are analytical methods. And formula questions, I have some of that. Kyle, use the channel search bar. I have a one on the capital asset pricing model. I have one on internal rates of return and present value and future value. I have videos on the balance sheet. I'll link to the one I have that I'm pretty happy with on capital asset pricing model and internal rates of return, present value, future value. There you go. Yeah, well, remember, it's a legal test, and make sure that's the one where you got to do lots of practice questions because it's mainly regulations and there's not a lot of performance opportunities. So, yeah, just again, same thing. It's really heavy on unethical business practices. Don't sell dividends, don't do breakpoint sales, don't open fictitious accounts, don't front run, all that bad stuff, right? And then disclosures. Amato, you make the mark on my 66 by 5 questions. Oh man, damn. Well, we'll find them. There you go. Let me know, Amato. I can be helpful. You're one of my favorite guys. We'll get you past the finish line, my friend. We will definitely get you through the finish line. Well, within fundamental analysis, I'm not sure what exam you're taking. Fundamental analysis, if you say that is what caused you to miss your mark on 7, I'm going to say I don't believe you. But there's a lot more fundamental analysis on 65 and 66. Most of it is about the balance sheet and understanding the classical balance sheet equation, assets minus liabilities equals net worth, working capital, current ratio, quicker asset test ratio, debt to total capital. So there's 4, and it's mainly recognition. They can ask you to do it, but it's definitely there. So I'm not so sure I would suggest remembering all the formulas. I would just have a good handle on it, but you can certainly make a flashcard on those formulas. I would tell you, if you can't decide what math to do, divide. And if you can't decide what to divide, take the first number and divide it by the second number. Well, make sure, Robin, you get a good night's sleep. Sleep is so underrated. I know about you. When I'm tired, my reading skills are greatly diminished. So Make sure you get a good night's rest. Tomorrow, what can I do tonight and tomorrow morning? Well, I would say manage your psyche. Your psyche is most important. So 60 on Kaplan Series 7. So I've had people get as low as 55 and pass. But you have to have a lot of variables. You got to get a good draw, dream draw. I don't know, Mikhail. I don't know, because I don't think anything you would be doing at this point is going to make the difference, because you're at 60, right? So it's not like we're pushing that 60 to 65 or 66. I think what I might do is go through the content outline of FINRA and just look that over. It's called the Series 7 Content Outline. You can also go in my channel in the search bar, and her name is Lauren. And Lauren booked a tutoring session. I don't know how to keep people from doing this, because, I don't like tutoring the day before your exam, because I just, I don't think it's helpful. But in her case, we did a night before thing where we did exactly that. We went through the content outline. So put in a night before in the channel search bar, and I think you can find the tutoring replay of Lauren and I going through the night before her exam, that test content outline. That would be what I would recommend. Yeah, there you go. Flashcards, make your own. I think making your own is better, but they have them on Quizlet. There's people who have them on Quizlet. A lot of test vendors now, including Capital, allow you to make your own flashcards through their portal. Flashcards are also good to get rid of significant others who are bothering you. You could say, "Hey, honey, can you run the flashcards with me?" I would have two sets. One I actually use to study. One I use to get rid of people who are bothering me while I'm studying. 65, the book's incredibly dense. It sure is. Black Mamba, I got to tell you, the book keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the Kaplan 65 book is now actually bigger than the Series 7 book. Chuck Lowenstein, I tease him about this all the time. He said, "Well, Dean, it's better they have too much than not enough." I go, "I'm not so sure." I think Brian Lee can help you distill that. So if you've got Brian's videos, what you're looking for is confirmation. Something Kaplan talks about, something Brian talks about, something Dean talks about, confirmation it's on the test. I would focus, I don't know when your test is, but I'm never going to tell you not to read the book. I mean, you should read the book cover to cover and close to one setting as possible. Now, I know that's not possible for everybody, but no taking notes, no notes. Don't rewrite the textbook. You just want to see what it is cover to cover. And once you've read that, if you're not going to do it cover to cover in one setting, well, as you do each section, then do some practice questions on it. But you should definitely do the chapter quizzes, and then move on to chapter 2, chapter quiz of 2, and then don't move on to chapter 3. Do a create your own quiz from chapter 1 or unit 1 and 2. And when you get 70% plus, then move on to unit 3. Do unit 3, do the reading, do the questions, do a unit 3 quiz, and then unit 1, 2, 3. You can move it. That's how I would move my study effort, my study plan forward, matriculate into scoring position. There you go. Miss with a 68. I'm scoring high 70. You should be good. I'd say you're safe, Antonio. I'd have every expectation you're going to make it. No, I think you're good. I would what you're doing, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Pass, but there's no way of how much. I know I hate that lady, bro. I think people who work hard deserve to get a score, because they need to. I think they deserve to know how well they mastered the information. I can give them a guesstimate because I've been doing it a long time. But I think particularly those people who are in the high 80s, low 90s deserve a score, but they don't get it. You only get a score if you miss, right? So. An excess fee, well, it's all judgment, right? Well, performance-based fees, 20% performance-based fee would be a hedge fund. And so, they invented software that returns 30%. Well, that right alone is a problem. You don't know it returns 30%. Past performance is not indicative of future results. So you're already in trouble, Kyle. You can't say I've invented a software program that returns 30%. You can say over the last 10 years, we back tested this, but that's a hypothetical illustration. And it is subjective, but 20 is going to be 2 and 20 is a hedge fund model. And the test question is about 20 being excessive. It's going to be that you can't be discriminatory. And if you are charging performance-based fees, additional disclosures, that puts your client at risk, right? It's not 20. It wouldn't be 20% of the assets under management. That would be outrageous. It would be 20% of the profits we make you. So that's not an AUM fee. That's a performance fee. Snowbirds of the channel. There you go. I like it. I like it. Package product, sure. I have a great. I have lots on mutual funds, which is the biggest one, and I have a couple tutoring videos that they gave me permission to replay, and those are pretty good. So I'll put that up there for you. I have a taxation video, and I'll put that there for you. But taxation, I think you're better to kind of know in the context of the investment vehicle than actually, trying to memorize a bunch of tax stuff. We're wishing luck, Miguel. Bon chance, mon ami. That's French for good luck, my friend. The method to build sounds great on Kaplan. I will say they are much harder than the simulated exams for some reason. I don't know. Everybody's experience is a little different. All right. Well, looks like we're right spot on an hour. If you'd like to participate in the drawing, let me just find that for us. You have to put it into the chat just as you see it. Now, let me put it in there. Let me put boom, boom, boom. And let me find this. There we go. And let me get rid of that. So if you want to participate in the drawing, boom. Let me get rid of Gary here. Put options into the chat, and then we'll do the drawing. And if you win, you need to claim your winning within 1 hour. And let me put that banner there for you. Boom. And tell me you're the winner, and I will send you a link to either your choice, the basic options class or the advanced option class. Advanced option class is Thursday. The stock plus options class is, I think, next Monday. So your choice. When you send me the email, I'll respond and say, which class would you like? If you don't want the class, you can give the link to somebody else. You could share the link. If you want to have more than one person join you for the class, you're welcome to do that as well. Anybody else? Last call. All right, here we go. It looks like I accidentally put myself in there. Hey, Marcel, I think I'm going to owe Marcel like hours and hours. I think I already owe him 3 coaching calls he hasn't collected on. And now he's got a class. So he is a lucky man. When you come out to Vegas, I want to take you down to the roulette table, and you just tell me where to put the chips on the numbers, and I'll put them. I'll give Marcel discretion to put them wherever he would like. All right, let's get rid of that. And let's get rid of that. And let's get rid of that. All right, let's get rid of this. All right, anybody got anything last minute things before we call it a night? Past perfect, take a 63. I keep missing. Is the timeline to notify administrative strains? Whether it's 30 days or promptly, well, it depends on what the situation is, on how you promptly, whether it's 30 days. So I would need more. The one that's usually 30th day by noon is registrations. So it depends on the context. All right. Well, remember, inch by inch, your exam is a cinch, yard by yard. Your exam is hard. And I'll see you next Tuesday, 5 p.m., if not sooner, for our next live stream. Thank you, guys, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.